Hello, everyone, joining me on another episode of A World Gone Mad. I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf, Season 1, the big episode, number 20. I give my opinions and commentary on the news nationally and world news and politics, so let's jump right into it. So, North Korea this weekend and their military attack on South Korea. Garbage. No, I'm not saying the military attack was garbage. It actually was garbage. North Korea has ramped up its trash balloon operations, with Seoul officials reporting about 700 of the airborne waste deliveries floating into South Korea. That's right, garbage, my friends, littering parts of the country with cigarette butts, paper, and scraps of cloth. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said no substance is harmful to the safety, and the citizens have been found. But that's the latest attack from North Korea. Balloons of garbage. Wouldn't that be nice if all wars were fought like that? I throw a water balloon at you. You squirt me with a water pistol. I throw an egg at your family member. You hit me with a lemon cream pie. There is no rumor to the story that North Korea's next attack against South Korea is going to be insults shouted through a bullhorn or whoopee cushions. And unfortunately, Rudy Giuliani is back in the news. Donald Trump's former lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, is one step closer to being disbarred. Does he even practice law anymore? Anyway, the Professional Responsibility Board in Washington, D.C., because of Rudy's involvement in a bogus 2020 election fraud lawsuit that the ex-New York mayor and former federal prosecutor should lose his law license. His law license was already been suspended due to his work boosting Trump's false assertions about his electoral loss. And now they conclude that disbarment is the only sanction that will protect the public, the courts, and the integrity of the legal profession. How about just tying him up, duct tape on his mouth, locking him in a room somewhere, and feeding him a couple of times a day? Rudy, you're 140 years old. You couldn't practice law even if you retained your law license. You don't know what you're doing. Bye, Rudy. Bye, Rudy. In other news, European allies of former U.S. President Donald Trump, well, they're rallying around him in support following his historic conviction on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. Does that feel good when you say that? Guilty. 34 counts. My hair goes up on end. I perk up. My posture gets better. Guilty. Donald is guilty. That feels good. Anyways, Italy's Deputy Prime Minister, Matteo Salvini, called Trump's conviction judicial harassment in a post on X, while Hungarian President Viktor Orban urged him to keep on fighting. Wow, there's two people you want rallying around you, right? Salvini and Orban. That's who I want in my corner, Donald. Other countries declined to comment on the development, a conventional response for governments when asked about another nation's domestic matters. Anyways, 34 counts, Donald. You're still guilty. We can say it 150 times. It's still going to sound as sweet as the first time. I read this, and this still gets me. Former Vice President Mike Pence said the conviction of his former running mate, Donald Trump, on 34 felony counts, oh, that feels so good, is an outrage and undermines confidence in the American justice system, calling the charges politically motivated. In a profound statement from Pence, I say that sarcastically, no one is above the law, but our courts must not become a tool to be used against political opponents, even though Donald did this in his time in office. Remember that, Mike? To millions of Americans, this was nothing more than a political prosecution driven by a Manhattan DA who ran for office on a pledge to indict the former president, and this conviction undermines confidence in our system of justice, Mike Pence said this weekend. He added that the conviction sends a terrible message to the wider world about the American justice system and only divides us. He thinks the conviction will be overturned. Mike, can I remind you of something? and focus on what I'm saying. I doubt you listen to my podcast, but if you do, pay attention. This is important. Okay, ready? Hang Mike Pence. Hang Mike Pence. Do you not recall hang Mike Pence? What happened January 6th? And you're standing up for Donald, like Nikki Haley does, and everyone else. And I'm trying to understand what are you scared of? What has he got on you? What bodies or skeletons that you have in your closet, Mike, to stand up and make this statement? Your political career is over unless, of course, Donald all of a sudden promotes you to something if he becomes president again. I don't get this. This news item I want to get into a little deeper. This is a dangerous news item, okay? Donald Trump's media allies are demanding retribution in the wake of his conviction, following weeks of attacks targeting the historic hush money case against the former president. Prominent right-wing media figures, you know who you are, immediately flooded the public discourse this past Thursday with extreme and disturbing rhetoric after Trump was found guilty on 34 felony counts. And as typical of Fox News and other right-wing outlets, pro-Trump media personalities erupted in anger, blaming everyone from Judge Merchan, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, to President Joe Biden, the entire U.S. justice system. I think he blamed the New York Knicks and also the New York Rangers for losing a game. Bozo the Clown, the Krispy Kreme donuts weren't sugary enough. They said this is a disgraceful conviction. While not surprising, the furious bluster reverberating across right-wing media still carried its intended effect, burning away public trust in America's core institutions, leaving a lasting impact on the legitimacy of the rule of law in the United States. And here's where we get into the very dangerous part. This toxic rhetoric commentary, its inflaming desires of retribution held by Trump's MAGA supporters, with popular right-wing media figures openly declaring that the GOP candidate to nakedly seek revenge against his critics should he emerge as president again and return to the Oval Office. Now, it's not only that MAGA media personalities are assailing the guilty verdict and the return by the jury of 12 New Yorkers, they're calling it unfair and rigged, and some of the right wing's most popular talking heads are openly calling for weaponization of government and political retribution against Trump's opponents. That's the overview. Here's the 2 points that get really down and dirty in the mud. The Daily Wire's Matt Walsh, who commands a following of millions of subscribers on YouTube and social media, said after the verdict that Trump should make and publish a list of 10 high-ranking Democratic criminals who he will have arrested when he takes office. The Federalist chief executive, Sean Davis, said he wants to see lists of which Democratic officials are going to be put in prison. And Fox News' Jesse Waters declared, "We're going to vanquish the evil forces that are destroying this republic." And to go even deeper, have you read the reports of people wanting to find out the emails and addresses of the 12 jurors who convicted Donald Trump? That's right. They want to publish personal information about the jurors so they could be harassed and threatened and possibly physically harmed. Are you freaking kidding me? You low-life piece of garbage out there that want to go after people because they did their job in a trial. Remember this in the past sometimes backfires and you publish the wrong information about the wrong person and they're in harm's way and you think this is okay? Look in the mirror, people. There's something seriously wrong with you if that's what you want to happen. By the way, my comment on all this, Trump's still guilty of 34 counts. Get over it. And there's more to come. Here's another cute little tidbit, and I say that lightly. Chief Justice John Roberts this past Thursday rejected a meeting request from Democratic lawmakers who wanted to discuss two provocative flags hoisted at Justice Samuel Alito's properties. Separation of powers concerns and the importance of preserving judicial independence counsel against such appearances, Roberts wrote in a letter released by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, like I said earlier in another episode, has lost all credibility for me, at least the conservatives of the Supreme Court. They don't care anymore, people. They don't care about right and wrong. They care about political agenda. Democrats versus Republicans. I'm frankly upset at this, and it's just going to get worse and worse with all the rulings coming up that are important in these couple of months following with more sessions from the Supreme Court. I want to take a short moment to tell you about the Facebook group for the podcast. The name of it is A World Gone Mad Podcast on Facebook. A World Gone Mad Podcast. You got to use the word podcast. Join our group. It's growing rapidly every day. Like-minded people like yourself who dislike what's happening with the country and Donald Trump and his MAGA supporters. Be a part of our group. It's free. When you join, just let me know that you've joined because you heard it about the Facebook group from the podcast, okay? Let's go to another ruling, or another judge, unfortunately. Judge Eileen, I have no clue about any judicial legal structure canon, that's my name for her, may have slapped down a request to gag Donald Trump. But her indefinite delays on the trial could very likely put a deadline on her own involvement in the case entirely. One could hope so. This past Tuesday, Cannon rejected special counsel Jack Smith's gag order request in Trump's classified documents trial on the basis that the filing wasn't polite enough. Oh my Lord, wasn't polite enough. This loonball, that's Marjorie Taylor Greene loonball. This doesn't know anything about justice Judge Cannon, telling the federal prosecutor Jack Smith that he did not offer Trump's legal team enough time to discuss and ultimately reject the request. But time is of the essence in this trial. This is the damaging one, people, especially with a loose-lipped defendant like Donald, who keeps haranguing federal agencies, and a Trump-appointed judge in Cannon who is slow-walking this case. Some legal experts have predicted that it's that exact combination that will push the trial until after November and into a possibility where Trump could potentially pardon himself. But the bottom line is, supposedly, legal scholar Matthew Seligman argued that a renewed motion would put Cannon's fate squarely in her own hands if she doesn't approve any further motions, or if she sits on this case indefinitely. This could potentially go to the 11th Circuit and ask them to step in. And she could be gone bye-bye. We can hope. So Judge Eileen, I know nothing about the legal system canon, could no longer be around very shortly. Please, 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 I wish upon a star. I'm going to take a short break. And when I come back, I'm going to talk about a senator that just changed his registration from his party that he was affiliated with to a different registration, and also the dangerous precedent of people in protest wanting to fly their flags upside down in support of Donald, a potential civil war moment. I'm not going to overstate that, but this is damning. I'll be right back. You're listening to A World Gone Mad. Thank you. And you could reach me by sending me an email. And the email is aworldgonemadpodcast, aworldgonemadpodcast@gmail.com. Leave your first name in the email, your age, your location, where you're, listening to us from, what app, etc., and any comments you have. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe. That way I can let you know when the new episode goes online. It's automatic and it's free. Also, if you can review, rate, rank the show on the app you're listening from, that helps me tremendously. I thank you for listening, whether you just joined us for the first time or have been listening for a while. I appreciate that. And now, back to the show.
This is a world gone mad. This is a world gone mad.
And welcome back to the podcast. So I want to talk about the senator who is changing party affiliation. Who would that be? Well, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, a longtime moderate Democrat, announced this past Friday that he is registering as an independent. Now, if you recall, Manchin announced last year that he would not run for re-election in the deep red state, creating an opportunity for Republicans to flip the Senate seat. The news that Manchin has registered as an independent raises fresh questions, however, over his political future and aspirations. Manchin stated, "Our national politics are broken. Neither party is willing to compromise to find common ground. To stay true to myself and remain committed to put country before party, I've decided to register as an independent with no party affiliation and continue to fight for America's sensible majority." If he does decide to run for Senate or governor, he has until August 1st to file a statement of candidacy and submit the necessary signatures needed to get on the ballot. Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer approached Manchin about running for re-election as an independent. "I think that's a long, long shot," Manchin said, "so I don't anticipate that happening. I don't anticipate running. But I anticipate Joe's not done with politics." Joe wants to be president, and Joe did everything he could to be a thorn in Joe Biden's side and the Democratic agenda. Remember, not allowing that bill to go through the major changes to everything. He said, I'll vote for this bill first, and then I'll come back to that bill later, and he never did. So I don't trust Joe Manchin. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to find out August 1st. But Joe, wild card Manchin, in the news. So you, the Wolfpack listening audience, how do you feel about Joe Manchin? What's your take on where he stands? He's a little bit of an enigma. And again, like I said, I don't trust him. I don't think he's a terrible man. I just think he plays sides like most politicians do for his own agenda. Let me know. We have a phone number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 833-399-9653, 833-399-9653. Toll free, it's just a voicemail system. Leave your opinion. Don't forget, if you're listening on the Buzzsprout app, you could stop the podcast at any time and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Your feedback adds a little fun to this podcast. So, the big elephant in the room. People are flying their flags upside down to show support because of Donald Trump's conviction. And while I find that intriguing, I also find it very dangerous, for lack of a better word, setting a precedent of what's to come. Well, some of you here may not agree with me that this is alarming. I think it is. Hanging the United States flag upside down is a move that's supposed to signal distress. And that has already ensnared Justice Alito with the two flags. One upside down, the American flag, and the other flag, the Appeal to Heaven, the flag that was used by the insurrectionists January 6th. And this bothers me because President Trump's supporters, such as Representative Marjorie Taylor Loonball of Georgia, former National Security Advisor disgraced General Michael Flynn, posted pictures of upside-down flags on social media soon after a New York jury found Trump guilty. Flynn, a retired 3-star general, you should be ashamed, sir, made the image his profile picture on X. That's a call to arms about this guy trying to start another insurrection. Now, by Friday, this past Friday, pro-Trump social media accounts were awash with images of inverted flags hanging on porches and lawns across the country. The Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, posted the image appearing to show that the flag hanging upside down above its Washington, D.C. headquarters. We haven't checked our neighbors yet. I have a neighbor around the corner who has a big Trump sign that he had a couple of years back, and I have not seen if he's flying a flag upside down. I bet he is. I'm going to check that. Now, in California, dozens of American flags that were placed outside a library in Monrovia in Los Angeles County to commemorate Memorial Day were turned upside down overnight. It's not clear who did the stunt. The city was very surprised to learn someone inverted the flags, which were set up in honor of our community's veterans. We were able to reset them correctly with the help of staff and community members, Dylan Fayek, Monrovia's city manager, told CNN on Saturday. Now, just to remind everyone, I'm sure most of you already know this, respect for the flag is outlined in the U.S. Code, which states the flag should never be displayed with the Union down, except as a signal of dire distress in instances of extreme danger to life or property. And to me, why this is polarizing is the next statement or fact that happened. Over the weekend, the trend seemed to be gaining steam. Country music star Jason Aldean, no stranger to political controversy, he posted an image of an inverted flag to his 4.4 million followers on Instagram after the verdict on Trump, writing, "Scary times in our country right now. When a former POTUS gets treated like this by our justice system, what does that mean for the rest of us?" By Saturday, Aldean, the post that he made, had almost 500,000 likes. You know what it means? It means the MAGA supporters are taking it to the next level. I've stated this to family members and friends. And I'm going to sound bad on this, or I'm going to sound off my rocker, but a civil war is formulating underneath between the two sides again, between Republicans who support Donald and the MAGA supporters, and Democrats, Republicans, some of them, and independents who are against all of this. This is scary, people. I don't even wear a shirt anymore in public stating my support one way or the other, or a sign out on my yard, because I'm afraid my house would get vandalized, or if I'm walking my dog would get hurt. I say this sincerely. I don't say this lightly. I think we are at a moment in time that's on the precipice. I think we are at a turning point that if Donald loses the election, could create massive violence. It's their last shot. If he wins the election, it creates massive support for people in charge who shouldn't be in charge. And I don't know where we go on this unless he is convicted of the other crimes, documents case, and everything else. It's scary. So what do you feel? You have an email. You have a phone number. You have the Buzzsprout app. You can leave a comment immediately. You have the Facebook group, which I implore you to please join. Let me know what you feel right now in your heart, soul, and mind about this situation. I'm going to be back next week with another episode. Episode 21, Blackjack, baby. I'm your host for A World Gone Mad. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. And until next week, everyone, please stay hopeful.